Good morning, Thank you for coming this morning. Happy birthday, Dr. Abramowitz. Many more to come. Healthy birthdays. This morning, breakfast is sponsored by Stuart Orson to commemorate the yahrzeit of his grandfather, Binyamin ben Yechiel, the Neshama Shavnali, and the Torah we learned this morning should be for his memory. We're getting up to the Haggadah, and the Haggadah says that the Jews became a great nation in Egypt, and they were considered Mitzuyanim. What does Mitzuyanim mean? The Chassam Sofer, it means they were distinct. Because the Jewish people still kept their Jewish clothing and they spoke in Hebrew, they kept the language, and they kept the clothing, so they were distinct in Egypt. However, Rabbi Galinsky says in modern Hebrew, the word Mitzion means they excel. So the question is how did the Jewish people excel at being in Egypt? They worshipped idols, they stopped circumcision, they reached the lowest forms of truma, they reached such a low status. So how were they considered excelling in Egypt when they're doing all these terrible things? So do they really deserve to be referred to those who excel? Rabbi Galinsky asked. If somebody turns his back on Judaism, he said, let's say somebody turns his back on Judaism, he does the worst sins, but he looks like a Chassid, do we still praise him? That's really what we're doing in Egypt. They did terrible sins, but they dressed like a Chassid, so we say they were excelled. Is that good enough? And the answer, according to Rabbi Galinsky, is yes. Why? When somebody's immersed in difficult environments, surrounded by harmful influences, even hanging on to a Jewish identity is something very, very special. And he quotes the Chofetz Chaim has a wonderful story relating to it, which I shared here on a couple different occasions. The Chofetz Chaim meets a baker before World War I, and he says to the baker, you notice he's very harried, he's very distressed. He goes, what's the matter? He goes, listen, the women come into my bakery, this bread is burned, this bread is not formed properly, this bread is missing something, business is terrible. A little while later, it's World War I, he meets the baker, and the guy's smiling and he's very happy. He goes, what's going on? He goes, listen, there's a war going on. They'll take whatever I come out. I can't get the bread out of the bakery fast enough. Business is moved. They don't care if it's deformed, if it's burned, they'll take it all. And the Chofetz Chaim said the same thing about the Jews. When the times were good, and God can be very picky, he can say you're not doing all the mitzvahs properly. But at a time when there's a spiritual deficiency, where people are not really doing what they should be doing, God appreciates, like today's day and age, when we have technology, a breakdown of social structure, the Jewish people are really challenged. Look at these rates. I heard somebody said the rate of intermarriage is 72% in America. That's what somebody told me the other day. It's a crazy number. So of course we have to push ourselves to do better. But God appreciates no matter what we do. Even if we're just hanging on to a Jewish identity, that itself is something pleasing to God. We have to do more, but even that's pleasing to God, and that's the lesson from Mitzianim. Even though they look like a Chassid, that they did terrible things, but the fact is they hang on to the Jewish identity. Today, if we hang on to the Jewish identity, it's still very pleasing to God. Have a wonderful day.